Hey everyone, in this video I'll be going through the Decentraland project, where it all began, where it all started, the ICO phase, how the economy kind of developed from scratch, and 2 years in, how did we get to where we are today? So Decentraland actually started during the, I guess, ICO boom. In 2017, things were going pretty crazy. You could launch projects and get a lot of funding, and Decentraland had the benefit of being timed very well in when they decide to run their initial funding. So during the ICO, basically they ICO'd a token called Mana. Mana was their token, and they raised 24 million USD. Okay, which was quite a lot of money. A lot of projects were raising between 20 and 40 million dollars for their projects. So it raised about $24 million pretty quickly. It ended pretty damn quickly. And at that stage, they had their initial white paper, which was proposing a virtual reality world where you can own your land. And it was kind of spearheaded by this YouTube video that went through, putting on your VR glasses and pretty much becoming something like this. So that was the proposal of Decentraland. It was aiming to be a virtual reality world where you can kind of buy and sell or buy and monetize your land. And through that white paper information, they kind of pushed the ICO, and yeah, it raised about 24 million US dollars. So the next goal was to develop a land platform or a world to look something like this. This was Decentraland's first map, or first city, Genesis City, I guess. And it's pretty big. Each of these lands are 16 by 16 meters in dimensions. They were actually initially 10 by 10 meters, but we have Decentraland that aims to be a completely community-driven project, right? The whole premises is to be decentralized and have decisions made by the community, etc., etc. So they've got their voting application, Agora, where they kind of propose questions and the community votes on what they want. So the community voted that they wanted to increase the land to 16 by 16 meters, and that's why now they're 16 by 16 meters. But anyway, we're kind of getting ahead of them ourselves. In 19th August, they kind of ended this token sale at 24 million USD collected. And then what followed was their first land sale. So the first Decentraland auction, this is a site called DCL Plazas. It's a news site for Decentraland. The first Decentraland auction, which sold 34,356 total amounts of land parcels, right? So each of these little pixels is basically a land parcel, and 35,000, pretty much 34,000 land sold for 161 million mana at the time. I think mana was trading at about 7 to 8 cents, so that would have been about 15 million USD spent on land. This mana token, it was all burnt. This was sent to a contract, a non-receivable contract. All of this mana was taken out of circulation. The team did not get a single dollar from the land auction. I believe the team's idea, or as creators of a project, you want your token to rise in value. So it was in their best interest and everyone's best interest to really just burn the token. So 161 million tokens were burnt. I believe the circulation is 2.2 billion. How do we see that? We'll have to go to coin market cap. Really quickly, circulation, there's about 1 billion mana in circulation currently. Circulating supply. Total supply, I think we'll have to go in deeper, but I don't want to really make that the basis of this video at the moment. So yeah, 34,000 parcels were sold, 161 million mana was burnt. At the time, 15 million USD. Additionally, so 15 million USD was spent. The highest priced land was sold for 582,000 mana. That was closer to the center. You can see these were kind of, so how it worked was it was an auction level bidding system. So Each land was set at a base price of 1,000 mana, and you could click on a land that you're interested in and put in your bid. And in the 2 weeks, if someone outbid you by the end of the auction, then you would have lost that to whoever was the first place. So the ones closer, right into the corner. So this is the center Genesis Plaza. This is where we're expecting a lot of the traffic to spawn, people to spawn from here. So land connected to Center Genesis sold for 381,000 mana. I think it was higher in the northern side. So this one sold for 596,000 mana. I think that was the highest selling 2 years ago during the auction. So the land, I might explain the map, how it works as well. Basically, all of these light gray lines are all road networks. These are all, so because each parcel is 16 by 16 meters, this road network is about 32 meters wide because it's around 2 parcels in width. And it goes, these are like the close 4 quadrants. Light blue means that the land is for sale. Dark gray means the land is owned but not for sale. People have joined their land to make what's called estates, and you can kind of sell these as whole pieces as estates. The more lands you have connected, the higher your building height limit. So each land has about 20 meters in height build limit individually, but once you join them together, for example, this one's my one, 88 lands connected is around 130 meters in build height. So the height limit increases a lot when you start joining parcels, which increases the value proposition once we're in estates, right? The purple bits are projects. So we got Bittrex tomorrow, Star City. There's about 50 of these, the Crypto Valley. There's heaps and heaps of districts. Some districts, they each have their own separate discords, Ethereum project, etc., etc. So you can see why it was pretty exciting to get involved in a virtual reality world and buy your land wherever you wanted in the area for the auction. So the auction kind of kicked off, went crazy. 15 million mana was spent, and then what followed was a ton of people that had land parcels and they didn't really have a way to sell them, right? So what you see here is the Decentraland marketplace. This didn't really exist as you see it today, where you can actually buy and sell lands till a while. I think it took about 3 to 4 months for them to release an online marketplace. But for those, not 3 to 4 weeks, 3 to 4 months. And for those few months, people that had bought land during the first auction, the only way they could trade the land was to do it manually, for the buyer to send mana over across to the seller and trust the seller enough that he will send over the land. So you can imagine there was potential to be scammed left, right, and center. That's exactly when I got involved. And surprisingly, there were literally no scams. There was about a couple that we became aware of, but a lot of people were trading lands pretty successfully doing that. And the community was vetting whoever is trustworthy, whoever's not, and we were kind of doing land by land. And there was so much potential to do deals because no one knew what the hell values of lands were, right? During the first auction, land sold for around 1,000 mana. Most of lands actually sold for, but around 1,000 mana. You can see, 1,500 mana over here. This one sold for 7,000 mana. That was actually the second auction. So a lot of these lands were actually not sold. Around 9,300 parcels were not sold. They were sold again in the second auction. Why? I have no idea why that sold for 15,000 mana. This one, let's see, 1,000 mana for the auction. So a lot of the lands actually sold for 1,000 mana. Lands even connected to Genesis Plazas, they were sold for about 3,000 mana. But we didn't really know when we first launched the marketplace what the market would value this for, because we didn't have a website that was tracking sales history. The only people that knew what certain lands were going for were the people that were buying and selling very frequently, like myself and a couple of others. And you could get really good deals. You could get, I think I got 2 lands for 25,000 mana, with one of those lands connected to a Genesis Plaza and another land connected to a road. And then I sold, I think within a few weeks, I sold one of those lands connected to a Genesis Plaza for about 60 to 70,000 mana. Just one of them. Or I think it was over 100,000 mana. I can't remember, but it was something ridiculous, right? Because again, in the NFT space, valuations are completely different. People don't know or they value things completely differently. So someone that might want to get rid of it for 25,000 for two of these lands, he may have spent 5,000 mana for both of them during the auction. He's happy to get rid of it at a 5x, get rid of them at a 5x multiple. Who wouldn't? And for me as a buyer, I would have seen that as, wait a second, this one might be worth a lot more. I purchased it and I got rid of it for a little bit more of a profit. And there were so many cases like that. That was the Decentraland boom and place for opportunity if you were savvy enough to mitigate or minimize your risk by doing certain things when doing those sort of over-the-counter deals. We had an escrow and all this stuff developed, and it was a very active community back then because a lot of the trading was done over Discord. Then soon they released this marketplace where you can just buy and sell land straight off the marketplace, so there was no need to do these over-the-counter deals. And then later on they started making the ability to do estates and send offers, and you could bid on items and put an offer in, etc., etc., etc. So that's how this developed, and how it kind of worked in terms of the statistics. You can see, when the marketplace launched, this big thing came from the auction, and then we had this time in March when the marketplace launched, and we were seeing quite frequent sales. You can see the green denoting 50 sales, 60 sales, 40 sales. Then we had a very quiet period where there wasn't that many sales, and it kind of died down to about 5 or 10 sales a day for a while. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a really big land buyer came in, started buying land like crazy, and ever since then the market has not been the same, just because a lot of people started to get involved. He bought the floor up from 7,000 mana back then as the cheapest parcel to around 15,000 mana single-handedly. And then ever since then, the land market has been pretty consistently selling a lot of land. Okay, it's kind of quieting down just because Bitcoin's kind of made a run and taken the spotlight, but it's been a very healthy market ever since then. You can see people are still buying and selling land. If you go to nonfungible.com, buying lands quite frequently. Every 24 hours, last 24 hours, we have quite a lot of land sold, about 20 or so. So it's been very healthy in terms of consistent buy volume for an NFT project. What you can build on the land. So that was the first auction. 34,000 lands were sold. Then another auction came sometime in Q4 2018. It was actually, I think it was the first quarter of 2019. I believe it was a while ago. 9,300 lands were sold, and 9,300 of the remaining parcels were sold for 110,000 mana. Again, these are all burnt. And this time, the auction worked a little bit differently. They did a reverse Dutch auction, which started at, I think, 100,000 mana, slowly worked its way down until whoever wanted to buy it bought it. Cheapest lands that were sold were about 7,000 mana. So at that time, 6.6 million USD was burnt in the form of mana. And all that mana was burnt. Again, none of it was collected by the Decentraland team. So now what we have is a project that has people that own their pieces of land within Decentraland, and the team is working very hard to build tools to get people building, right? And you can see if you go to a really cool spot on dclplazas.com, you can kind of see a lot of things that people have built on their world. They built mansions, they built games, they built experiences, clubs, all kinds of things, music, shops. The builds are getting more and more interesting, a little Minecraft type thing. The opportunity is really limitless just because what you can build, right? And they've also got this really cool tool, the Decentraland Builder, where you can literally drag and drop things, and you can see you can drag and drop things and enter it, and then you can kind of visit it. It looks really small, but this is actually built on 30 parcels of land. So if you zoom in, you're actually, once you enter the land, you're like the little, you're that small in the land. So once you enter it, you can kind of do your own thing, play the mini game or whatever they have at the moment. And this is the early stages of the builder, and eventually it's going to get more and more advanced, and it's going to be really cool to see what people build. So that's it, guys. At the moment, that's where Decentraland is at. People are building really cool things. They have their land ownership. We have a buzzing economy. Mana is quite healthy on the first page of CoinMarketCap, 94th position in a market where many alts have been kicked to the curb and smashed. It's one of like a handful of NFT projects that have a first page ranking. So Decentraland and I think Engine Coin is another one. I just saw them before, valued at about 50 something million. Where are they? Engine Coin 72. I think they're like a game building suite of tools. I'm going to go through them a little bit later. I don't really look or invest much in Engine Coin. They're their own little thing, but definitely worth a mention. I'll be going through that a little bit later. So that's with Decentraland, the buzzing economy. We also have our own games. People see Decentraland as a platform to launch virtual reality versions of games, shops, and all kinds of things. We have a couple of games and a couple of dev teams that are building, games that they've held pre-sales for. Battle Races is one of them. You can own these cars and race them against each other, buy and sell parts. We had Chain Breakers as well, which was a open world game where you can buy pets and armor and verse each other and stuff. Turn-based strategy game. So that's that. So far, that's how it all looks. We have some really big investors as well, like Barry Silbert, who runs a DCG group, digital currency group, a fund, investment fund, Grayscale Invest, and they actually are one of the biggest backers for Decentraland. They have their own VC that they've set up to fund projects that come out of Decentraland, Metaverse Ventures, so anything with Decentraland related that you think that any platform you want to build, you can approach them and they can fund it if they believe in the idea and the vision. But we definitely have a community of very capable people to build out Decentraland. And it's going to be a very exciting 2020 once the world goes live. And that's where it's at the moment. That's why at the start, it's just made for such a really good ground for investing and buying and selling land and assets, just because the transaction value of these assets are so big, right? In other games, there are a couple of dollars. Sometimes you'll see thousands of transactions. CryptoKitties or Axes sell for a few dollars here and there. But these lands specifically are a minimum 12,000 mana, $400 US. So if you're buying and selling, hundreds of lands per year, you can make a decent amount of money. So Decentraland was where it all began for me personally, and I'm definitely watching it and to see the economy evolve. And once people start to flood to the world, it'll be interesting to see how these lands get valued at. Eventually, you'll be able to rent them and rent them out to hopefully bigger game developers. That's what I'm planning to do for my larger estates, as developers want to come in, or game designers, and want to build an experience in the midst of things. There's not many estates this size. There's my one over there, red. There's this one. There is really just a handful that are for sale. So there's this one, this one. They're not for sale, right? So if a big investor wants to come in and rent, they only have a few options, and I'm hoping to be one of those few options. I've got that. I've also got this one over here. But that's how it's going to work. So it's going to be interesting how Decentraland is. And I hope that informs you a little bit as to what's going on. And let's just see how we progress with Decentraland this year.